Stop everything you're doing right now, because what I'm about to share with you could be the difference between walking through customs in 15 minutes or sitting in a secondary inspection room for 4 hours wondering what just went wrong with your entire trip. My name is Joe, and you're watching US Visa Path, the channel that cuts through the noise and gives you exactly what you need to protect your American dream. Today we're talking about something massive that's rolling out at every single airport and land border crossing in America right now in early 2026. And if you're planning to travel to or from the United States anytime this year, whether you're a citizen, a green card holder, a visa holder, or a first-time visitor, you absolutely need to understand this new screening system before you pack your bags. I'm going to walk you through exactly how this works, who's getting flagged first, what triggers the algorithms, and most importantly, what you can do right now today to prepare yourself so that when you walk up to that CBP officer, you're calm, you're confident, and you're ready. Stay with me all the way to the end because I'm giving you a step-by-step game plan that you can start using tonight. Let me say this up front because I know what some of you are feeling right now. When you hear that the government is rolling out new travel screening, you might feel a knot in your stomach. You might wonder if you're going to be targeted. You might worry that something in your past, your travel history, your country of origin, your immigration status is going to cause problems. Those feelings are completely valid, and I want you to know that the goal of this video is not to scare you. It's to inform you. Because when you understand how the system works, you can prepare for it. And when you're prepared, you have nothing to fear. As of right now, the Department of Homeland Security, working with U.S. Customs and Border Protection, has started rolling out what they're calling the Enhanced Traveler Vetting Initiative. And this is the biggest upgrade to travel screening since the Secure Flight program over a decade ago. This has been confirmed by Reuters, the Associated Press, the Wall Street Journal, and official CBP public guidance. So everything I'm sharing with you today is based on verified reporting and official sources. Not speculation, not rumors, just the facts. So what exactly is this Enhanced Traveler Vetting Initiative, and how is it different from what was happening before? Let me break this down in the simplest way possible. Previously, when you traveled to the United States or returned home as a citizen or permanent resident, your passport and documents were checked against government databases that contained information about known criminals, terrorism suspects, people with outstanding warrants, and individuals who had violated immigration law in the past. If your name matched someone in those databases, you'd be flagged for additional screening. That system was reactive. It looked for known problems. The new system is completely different. Instead of just checking static lists of bad actors, the Enhanced Traveler Vetting Initiative uses what DHS calls dynamic risk assessment algorithms. These algorithms analyze multiple factors at the same time to create a real-time risk score for every single traveler who comes through. The higher your risk score, the more likely you are to be pulled aside for what most people call secondary inspection or enhanced screening. Now here's the question I know is burning in your mind right now. What factors does the system actually look at when it's calculating these risk scores? Based on official CBP guidance and credible reporting, there are 7 major categories that this new system evaluates, and I'm going to walk you through every single one so you know exactly where you stand. The first category is travel history patterns. The system doesn't just look at where you've been, it looks at how you've traveled. Have you made multiple trips to countries that are on heightened security watch lists? Have you taken unusual routing like flying from the US to Canada, then to Turkey, then to Pakistan instead of a direct flight? Have you booked last-minute travel over and over again? Have you traveled frequently but only stayed a few days in each place? These patterns can raise your risk score even if every single trip you took was completely legitimate and legal. The second category is document anomalies. This includes things like passports that have been replaced multiple times, travel documents that show any signs of alteration, discrepancies between information on different documents you're carrying, or using multiple passports from different countries. The system is very sensitive to situations where your documented identity looks inconsistent across different sources. The third category is your entry and exit history. For everyone who's previously entered or exited the United States, the system pulls up your complete record. Have you ever overstayed a visa even by 1 day? Have you ever been denied entry at a port of entry? Have you ever been sent to secondary inspection before? Have you ever been placed in removal proceedings even if those proceedings were eventually terminated in your favor? Have you ever been granted any kind of immigration relief or waiver? All of this information is now integrated into one single profile that gets evaluated every time you show up at the border. The fourth category is law enforcement and intelligence flags. This is similar to the old system, but it's been expanded. If you're on a watch list, if you have an outstanding warrant anywhere in the country, if you're the subject of an ongoing investigation, you will absolutely be flagged. But here's what's new. The system now pulls in data from state and local law enforcement databases, not just federal ones. That means even minor encounters with police, arrests that never resulted in convictions, traffic violations, domestic disturbance calls, all of that can potentially affect your risk score. The fifth category is financial transaction patterns, and this is a newer area of scrutiny. The system now has access to certain financial data, including reports of large currency transactions, suspicious activity reports that banks file with the Treasury Department, and records of international wire transfers. If your financial activity suggests potential money laundering, tax evasion, or other financial crimes, this can bump up your risk score. The sixth category is social connections, and this is probably the most controversial part of the new system. According to reporting from the Wall Street Journal and other major outlets, the Enhanced Traveler Vetting Initiative can analyze certain information about your social networks, not your Facebook or Instagram accounts, but rather who you've traveled with in the past, who has sponsored your visa applications, who lives at addresses that are associated with you, and whether any of those people have their own elevated risk profiles. The idea behind this is that association with certain individuals can itself be considered a risk factor. The seventh category is country of origin and nationality. Now, CBP has emphasized publicly that the system does not engage in religious or ethnic profiling, but the reality that we all need to acknowledge is that certain nationalities do face heightened scrutiny as a matter of official policy. This has been true for years, and it continues under this new system. If you're a citizen of a country that's on the State Department's list of state sponsors of terrorism, or if you've traveled to certain high-risk countries in recent years, your risk score will be affected. Let me be crystal clear about something right now because this is important. Having an elevated risk score does not mean you're going to be denied entry to the United States. It does not mean you're suspected of committing a crime. It simply means you're going to receive additional screening. For most people, this additional screening is brief, maybe 10 or 15 minutes of extra questions, a closer look at your documents, and then you're on your way. But for some travelers, especially those whose profiles trigger multiple risk factors at the same time, secondary screening can be much more extensive. It can involve lengthy interviews, searches of your luggage and personal belongings, and in some cases, examination of your electronic devices like your phone or laptop. So based on all these factors I just described, who is most likely to get pulled aside first under this new system? Let me walk through the categories of travelers who are at the highest risk so you can honestly assess where you stand. Travelers from or through high-risk countries face the highest likelihood of enhanced screening. This includes not just citizens of those countries, but anyone who has traveled to them recently. If you've visited certain countries in the Middle East, North Africa, Central Asia, or South Asia within the past 5 years, you should expect that your risk score is going to be affected. Green card holders with extended absences are another high-risk category. If you've been outside the United States for more than 180 days, the new rules create a presumption that you may have abandoned your permanent residence. But even absences shorter than that can trigger additional screening under this system if they follow a pattern that suggests you're not really maintaining the U.S. as your permanent home. Frequent travelers with complex itineraries are facing more scrutiny under the new system. If you're traveling internationally more than 6 or 8 times a year, if you visit multiple countries on a single trip, or if your travel patterns are hard to explain with a simple, straightforward narrative like vacation, business meeting, or family visit, you're more likely to be flagged. Travelers with any prior immigration violations are on heightened alert. This includes previous visa overstays, no matter how short, previous denials of entry at any port, previous removal proceedings even if they were terminated, and any history of immigration fraud or misrepresentation. First-time visitors from certain countries face elevated screening as standard practice. This isn't new, but the Enhanced Traveler Vetting Initiative has made the screening more systematic and more thorough than it was before. Travelers carrying large amounts of currency or whose financial profiles suggest unusual activity get flagged by the new system. If you're carrying more than $10,000 or the equivalent in other currencies or monetary instruments, you are legally required to declare it, and when you do declare it, that automatically triggers additional review. And finally, travelers who show behavioral indicators of stress, deception, or extreme nervousness during the initial screening interaction may be selected for additional examination. CBP officers are trained in behavioral analysis, and the new system incorporates their real-time observations into the overall risk assessment. Now let me give you some concrete actionable steps you can take right now to prepare yourself for traveling under this new screening system. First, sit down and review your own travel history tonight. Make a list of every international trip you've taken in the past 5 years. Write down the countries you visited, the exact dates you were there, the purpose of each trip, and gather any documentation you still have like boarding passes, hotel receipts, or visa stamps. Having this information organized and ready to go will help you answer questions quickly and confidently if you do get selected for additional screening. Second, make absolutely sure all your documents are current and consistent with each other. Check your passport expiration date right now. It needs to be valid for at least 6 months beyond your planned return date for most countries. Make sure the name on your passport matches exactly the name on your airline ticket, which should match exactly the name on your visa or green card if you have one. Any inconsistencies, even minor ones like a missing middle name or a hyphen in the wrong place, can trigger the system to pull you aside. Third, if you're a green card holder, calculate your physical presence ratio. Add up all the days you've been outside the United States over the past 3 years. If that number is more than 50% of the total days, you need to be prepared for serious questions about whether you've actually maintained continuous residence in America. Bring documentation that proves your ties to the U.S., things like recent tax returns, employment verification letters, your lease or mortgage documents, utility bills in your name, anything that shows you have a real life here. Fourth, be very aware of what you're carrying with you. If you have large amounts of cash, declare it honestly on the form. Don't try to hide it because that's a federal crime. If you're carrying prescription medications, make sure they're in their original pharmacy containers with proper labels that match your name. If you're bringing gifts or items that might be subject to customs duties, be ready to declare them accurately. Fifth, prepare yourself mentally for the possibility that you might be selected for additional screening. If you do get pulled aside, stay calm. This is not the end of the world. Answer every question truthfully and directly. Don't volunteer extra information that wasn't asked for, but also don't be evasive or defensive because that just makes things worse. Treat the officers with respect, and you should expect to be treated with respect in return. Most secondary inspections are resolved within 30 to 60 minutes. Sixth, know your rights, but also know the limitations of those rights at the border. You have the right to remain silent about questions that are unrelated to your immigration status. But exercising that right at a port of entry can actually prolong your inspection and make officers more suspicious. You have the right to request to speak with a supervisor if you genuinely believe you're being treated unfairly or unlawfully. If you're a U.S. citizen, you absolutely cannot be denied entry to your own country, although the process of getting through might take time. If you're a green card holder, you have strong legal protections, but they're not absolute, particularly if there are legitimate questions about abandonment of residence or serious criminal history. Let me share a real-world example that shows you exactly how this new screening system works in practice. I recently worked with a green card holder, let's call him Ahmed, who was returning from a 3-week visit to see his family in Egypt. Ahmed has been a lawful permanent resident for 8 years. He's never had any legal problems, no arrests, no violations, nothing, and he travels to Egypt once a year to visit his elderly parents. Under the old system, Ahmed would usually clear immigration in 10 to 15 minutes, show his green card, answer a couple basic questions, and he's done. Under this new Enhanced Traveler Vetting Initiative, Ahmed was flagged because his travel pattern, those annual trips to a country that's on the heightened scrutiny list, triggered an elevated risk score in the algorithm. He was sent to secondary inspection, where officers asked him detailed questions about his job in the United States, his family members both here and in Egypt, his specific reasons for traveling, and his plans for the future. Because Ahmed was prepared, because he had brought his employment verification letter, his last 2 years of tax returns, and photos of his parents and family, he was able to answer every single question confidently and provide documentation on the spot. He was released after about 45 minutes. Yes, it was longer than he was used to. Yes, it was a little stressful. But it wasn't traumatic, and it didn't derail his life because he knew what to expect and he was prepared. I also want to talk directly to the seniors in our community because I've been hearing a lot of concerns from older immigrants who are worried that their age, their limited English skills, or their unfamiliarity with technology is going to cause problems under this new system. Let me reassure you about something. CBP officers receive training to accommodate travelers who need additional assistance. If you have difficulty understanding or speaking English, you have the right to request an interpreter and one will be provided at no cost to you. If you have mobility challenges, you can request wheelchair assistance. If you have medical conditions that might affect your ability to stand for long periods or answer questions quickly, carry a letter from your doctor that briefly explains your condition. The new screening system is designed to assess security risk. It is not designed to target vulnerable populations, but being prepared and having your documents organized is going to make the entire process smoother and less stressful for you. For those of you who travel to or from Europe, I also want to mention quickly that the European Union is implementing its own enhanced screening systems right now. The Entry-Exit System and the European Travel Information and Authorization System, known as ETIS. These systems are going to require additional registration and biometric data collection for travelers who don't need a visa to enter the Schengen area. Now, these European systems are completely separate from the U.S. Enhanced Traveler Vetting Initiative, but they represent a global trend that all of us need to understand. Comprehensive travel screening is becoming the norm everywhere, not just in the United States. If you travel internationally, you should expect that screening processes are going to become more thorough at borders all around the world. As we get close to wrapping up this video, I want to leave you with a message of genuine confidence because I don't want you walking away from this feeling anxious or scared. Yes, the Enhanced Traveler Vetting Initiative represents a significant change in how travelers are screened at U.S. ports of entry. Yes, some people are going to face additional scrutiny and longer wait times. But here's the truth. For the vast majority of travelers, including U.S. citizens, green card holders, and visitors who have done absolutely nothing wrong, the actual impact on your travel experience is going to be minimal. The key to getting through smoothly is preparation. Know your travel history, get your documents organized and consistent, understand the factors that can trigger enhanced screening, and if you do get selected for additional questions, stay calm and be cooperative. Nothing I've shared with you today is legal advice. Policies can change at any moment, and you must verify everything on official government websites like cbp.gov, uscis.gov, and the Department of State's website, or consult with a licensed immigration attorney about your specific situation, because every case is different. That's everything you need to know today, my friend. If this video helped you even a little bit, if you feel more prepared and more confident about your next trip, do me a favor right now. Hit that like button, drop a comment below with your question or your own travel experience, and most importantly, subscribe to US Visa Path and ring that notification bell because I drop new videos every single week to keep you informed and prot. I'm Joe from US Visa Path, and I've got your back until you're standing safely on US soil living your American dream. See you in the next one.